Before we get to the video, check out my Patreon linked in the description of this video, where for $5 a month you get exclusive content such as sneak peeks at projects like upcoming videos, dioramas, stop motions, photography. You'll get a shout out in videos like this one. I also take video requests. You can see behind the scenes of my stop motions in toy photography, as well as exclusive stop motions in photography. Again, you get all these perks on my Patreon for $5 a month. Link to join in the description of this video. Now let's get to it. What's poppin', you guys? Thank you for clicking on this video. So as you can tell by the title, we have some more intriguing Instagram DM question and answers to get into here today. So sit on back, grab a snack, and listen to me ramble. So this first one on the docket here is from TF Collector 97 on the TFW boards. He asked Evan Brooks on Instagram, would a stealth bomber Megatron from the IDW 2009 comics still be a possibility? It's one of my favorite designs for him. And Evan replied with, that was such a good design. I think that's possible in a couple different ways, depending on if SS starts digging into comics or Mark could just do it in Legacy. So this seems like kind of an old question before Age of the Primes came out and before the comic subline. But, you know, he's still saying that it's a possibility that they're going to tackle this at some point. And, you know, it seems obvious. I don't think he would ever want to shoot down somebody asking about one of the more popular Megatron designs in the fandom nowadays, which is the stealth bomber look. I mean, you look at people in the community who love that design and ask for Hasbro to do a new figure of it that's not some dinky, crappy, outdated deluxe from 12 years ago. You know, the demand is really there for this design. You know, I'm a proud owner of the third-party Masterpiece figure that came out back in, what was that, 2017, 2018. So I don't really per se need this. I would love to see this as leader class. Depending on how they handle it and how it looks, I would probably buy it because that's one of my favorite Megatron designs in the Transformers media as well. But, you know, I'm not clamoring for this. There's two different versions in third-party Masterpiece that are fantastic. But, you know, for people who don't want to track that figure down because, you know, it is old, and I do get it that we do need a new Hasbro figure at leader class. I would love to see this, and I just might pick it up depending on how good the figure is when they inevitably do get to it. Because, you know, the demand is there, and it does seem like they're picking up with the comic subline and studio series next year and in 2027, so I definitely think this is probably high on the list for comic figures to get made in the next few years. This next one, or these next two actually, come from ARLT4 on the TFW boards. SS14 Ironhide, why didn't it get reissued or reused as the DOTM version? Is there some trouble about the license, or because there's some plan of Bayverse 2.0, or is it a mold that's been destroyed? And Evan said it's still around. I'm sure we'll get it back out there. So this is interesting. I mean, you know, the whole thing with this mold, it is strange that it hasn't been reissued or reused for the Dark of the Moon version yet, and this figure has been out for close to 10 years now, if you could believe it. 2018 is over 7 years ago, going on 8 years ago now. You know, I remember the first time I handled this mold, I was in awe at the accuracy and the detail and the engineering of this figure. It's still a great figure, but I would like to see a new version that's possibly a bit better in terms of modern engineering, paint, sculpt, articulation. I would like to see an Ironhide at leader class at this point. I mean, fudge it. Give me a Dark of the Moon leader class Ironhide flashback from 2011. Why not? I think he warrants leader class price point nowadays, especially if they do the Dark of the Moon version with his knives and the extra guns and stuff. You know, I definitely could see them doing that, and it would be a welcomed addition. You know, depending on how that figure goes, I would probably get that. Ironhide is one of my favorite Bayverse designs and characters, and frankly, one of my favorite Transformers designs ever in the franchise. So hopefully this does either get a reissue for people who still like this mold, or, the best case scenario is a brand new mold that is a bit better than the one from 7-8 years ago that maybe could be done at leader class. That would be nice, but here's hoping the Dark of the Moon one at least comes out at some point soon, because it is kind of weird. We're still missing that for Ironhide. So the same person asked Evan about some IDW stuff. The first question here is, will IDW Turmoil come out? And Evan responded with, I think at some point we have to do a new Drift/Deadlock at some point, and they'd pair nicely. This is a question that was answered very good in my opinion, because, talk about some more characters that are hyped up in the community and that want to get made from the IDW comics. Turmoil, Deadlock, Drift, those are names that come up often. So the fact that Evan realizes this and he wants to do them at some point and pairing it with Drift and Deadlock, we know Hasbro loves to handle their, micro teams of like pairs or a trio or, arch enemies and stuff like that in the Transformers mythos. So, I definitely think Deadlock and Turmoil are coming at some point down the line, especially since we now have the Studio Series comic line. We're getting more comic figures in the regular mainline generations the last couple years, thanks to Mark. So hopefully these guys come out at some point in the next few years. That would be really nice. And the second question here is, although John Warden was fired from Hasbro, is there still Stormbringer Megatron he wanted to make on the table? And Evan responded with, a good Megatron design is always on the table, ! So this is interesting the way he answered this. Obviously, he didn't want to get too into specifics or, the stuff with John Warden, which is obvious. It's fine. It sucks what happened to him, and I do remember John Warden mentioning this, that he did want to do Stormbringer Megatron, and people have been like, talk about another Megatron design in the Transformers fandom that is iconic at this point, about 20 years later from those comics. And, it's very hyped up. People want to see it. I could definitely see them doing this as either leader class or commander class down the line one day. I would probably buy this. There's a few third-party masterpiece options, I think, like 2 or 3. So me personally, for my own wants and needs in my collection, I'll probably go with that. But, I love the Stormbringer design so much that I might double dip. And, depending on how good the Hasbro figure is, if it's leader class or commander class, this would be a great design to see, because that is something really souped up for Megatron with a lot of bulk and weaponry to him. It just suits the character perfectly, and it would be really wise of Hasbro to drop this Megatron design in the comic subline or just in regular generations in the next couple of years. I could definitely see them doing some sort of IDW capsule one day for maybe like the 25th anniversary of the comics or something, because we all know Hasbro loves to cover the anniversaries of a lot of these eras in the Transformers franchise, and that would be amazing, seeing some heavy hitters from the IDW comics, from iconic moments or character designs done up in like a 25th anniversary capsule line, whether that's for the Studio Series comic line or for, the regular mainline generations comic stuff. That would be really cool to see. And believe it or not, we are coming up on the 25th anniversary of IDW Comics in the next few years. I'm pretty sure this year or the year before was the 20th anniversary of IDW Comics starting. So I'm surprised there wasn't like a mini capsule line or some figures in Studio Series or Age of the Primes to kind of acknowledge the 20th anniversary of IDW, because it's a very popular form of media within, the Transformers community. So hopefully for the 25th anniversary, we start seeing some of this goodness, or sooner. I don't want to wait another 4 or 5 years for that. Maybe 2027, 2028 at the earliest, maybe. And the last question is, can we get IDW Perceptor? And Evan answered with, someday, I'm sure, ! So that's kind of a positive response there. It's nothing too crazy in terms of, previous answers with other questions like, oh, we have this planned at some point, or we're talking to Takara on how to handle this, or what size class do you want him to be? We definitely want to get to him at some point soon. It's nothing like that, but, he is saying it is on the table and it is something that they want to do someday, or they'll get to it at some point down the line. I wouldn't expect IDW Perceptor anytime soon, but obviously, stranger things have happened. We don't know for sure. We don't know their plans for, 2, 3, 4 years from now. He could easily come out in like some capsule line at Walmart or Amazon or Target, or he could be some Gen Selects release, or he could just be in the main line for Studio Series or Generations, because they could retool the Studio Series 86 mold if they really wanted to into IDW Perceptor. I would prefer a new mold because his design is different enough that I think it warrants that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just take the easy and cheapest way out, going by how Hasbro has handled some of their characters the last few years and some of the budget cuts and stuff like that, unfortunately. But either way, I'm really excited to see all this stuff at some point down the line. There is a long list of stuff that these guys have to tackle and make nowadays with everything being on the table. So hopefully we see these guys, in a timely manner. I wouldn't be surprised if I'll have gray hair by the time some of these figures come out with all the stuff that they have planned to release in the next 5 years. But hey, I guess that's the name of the game. I feel bad for the G1 fans who are still waiting on certain characters who are in their 40s and 50s who are starting to get up there in age, unfortunately, but that it is what it is. Time is crazy. But yeah, guys, let me know down below, how do y'all feel about all the questions that Evan answered here? And yeah, guys, thank you for watching this video. Catch y'all in the next one. Bye.